keep observing COVID-19 protocols, and keep staying safe for just one more push. A COVID-free world. Now, that's something worth pushing for. If you need more inspiration, you can check out onemorepushafrica.com. This message is brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go. And just as wearing a mask gives you power over the spread of COVID-19, Axis Bank says by simply dialing star 901 hash, you have the power to do more banking. For the ones who run your world from your comfort zones, just dial star 901 hash to buy data or airtime, pay bills, or transfer money to friends and loved ones. To the shoppers and those who like swiping to make payments, you can dial star 901 star 6 hash to request an Access card and have it delivered to your doorstep conveniently. Yeah. To those who say God day with day, just dial star 901 star 7 hash now to buy or renew your insurance on the go. And to you salaried workers, simply dial star 901 star 11 hash for a hassle-free payday loan service. No data, no wahala. Go on and enjoy these and more by also downloading the Access mobile app from Play Store or the App Store and experience the power to do more banking. You can call toll free 0800 004400 for more details. Access Bank, more than banking.
Joy 99.7 FM.
It's a Wednesday, and we get to spend time with Dr. Osafo, the CEO of Medicas Hospital, and he's our drive doctor. And today he's joining us via Zoom. And let's get on there. Hello, Doc. Hello, Doc. Can you hear me? Okay, so we'll try and connect with Dr. Osafo very shortly. He's supposed to be on my Zoom right now. Okay, so I can see Doc on my.
Can you hear me?
So mute button now. I said, Doctor, we cry. Doc, what's menka? Hello, Dr. Safo, can you hear me? Is he wearing an earpiece? Mama nisha stethoscope. Okay, so we'll connect to Dr. Osafo very shortly. And today, we're actually having a very important conversation. Do you know your blood group? Do you know your blood group? Are you an A, a B, an O, an AB? Do you know what it means? Do you know what it signifies? Well, we'll get to learn about blood groups this afternoon on our drive chat with Dr. Osafo, who's still trying to figure out how to get his Zoom working. I think he's back on, hopefully. His Zoom, I can see him on the screen. His Zoom is muted as well. Okay. Should we get him on phone now? Hello, Doc?
Lexis.
Hello, Dr. Safo, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Zoom no now on Tiasia.
Kwame, the Zoom is clear from where I am, you know. I think there are some technical challenges.
And yet technical challenges. Yeah, Zoom nana so. Zoom nana so.
That's why I should just come into the studio and then we cast aside all these high tech things.
I know, right? Anyway, I'm glad that you're on, though. I'm excited. Today we get to learn about blood groups, what it means, isn't it? Is that it?
Yes, Kwame. Today we're going to talk about some facts. I'm going to share some facts about about blood and also about blood groups
Okay.
in or blood types in humans.
Okay.
Um, it's it's one of those interesting subjects to discuss, and sometimes I hear a lot of things on radio and television, and there's an opportunity to set some of the records straight.
Awesome. Then shoot, Doc. We're here. We're all ears.
Right. So good afternoon to all our listeners, and it's good to be on air again another week. And this week we want to focus on something very, very important and something that I believe most healthcare professionals are very passionate about. If you're a healthcare professional and for example, you work in a maternity unit of any hospital or a maternity home, then you know the absolute importance of blood and blood-related products. It's very, very sad when a joyous occasion such as the birth of a newborn turns into anguish and pain because either the mother dies through childbirth or both mother and baby are lost in the process because of bleeding. So blood is very, very important. So Kwame, today we're going to share some facts about blood and blood types.
All right.
Blood is made up of red blood cells, or it has a cellular component. When we talk about blood, most people think of it as the fluid, that red fluid you see when you get a cut or when you are pricked by a thorn. That red fluid that comes out of our bodies is what most people think of as blood. But blood has a fluid part or a liquid part, and then it also has a cellular part, meaning dissolved in that, not dissolved, in that fluid, you would have cells. And these cells are typically called red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Then dissolved in the fluid, you have so many other chemical substances, proteins forming the bulk of it. So when a healthcare professional, when a doctor talks about blood, we talk about both the fluid component and then we talk about the cells. The red cells give blood its distinctive red color. So all of us and other mammals all have the color red. So we've got our red blood cells. Your blood group, which is what we're going to talk a lot about today, it's a system that we have developed over the years, scientists and doctors over the years, to try and classify the different blood types that we have come to recognize. Yes, we are all humans, but we also came to the realization that when you transfer blood from one individual to another, with the assumption that we are all humans and so there will be no problem with it, there has been some disastrous consequences when that has been done. The process is called transfusion, blood transfusion. And that is what led to the theory that, possibly, although we are all humans, although we are all, say, Africans, there may be differences in our blood types. And that led to the search for the different blood types that are available. The blood group is genetically acquired, meaning you would get it from your parents, your mother, and then your father. And it is identified by substances we call antigens on your red blood cells, and then also substances we call antibodies, which are found in the liquid part of the blood. So Kwame, I'll repeat that. The blood group is identified or determined by substances we call antigens, which are found on your red blood cells, on the surface of the red blood cells, and also substances we call antibodies, which are found in the liquid part of the blood. So the most important cells that we take from the blood are the red blood cells in making a determination of one's blood group. Kwame, there are different blood grouping systems. And before I get into that, I'm sure most of us, because of this pandemic, which is still raging, most of us would have heard about antibodies. So
Yeah.
antibodies are certain types of proteins that we find in the liquid part of blood. They are part of your body's natural defense mechanism, and they recognize foreign substances such as germs or viruses and alert your immune system, which destroys these invaders, if you like. So we will be coming back to that, and I feel that I needed to define what antibodies are. So if you like, they are the soldiers of your body protecting you from any external aggression.
Right.
There are different blood grouping systems. So again, when I hear people saying that, because if you are blood group A or blood group B, then they make certain inferences about what foods you can eat and things like that. Not quite, because there are so many blood grouping systems and there might be overlaps. So most people know about the ABO blood grouping system. Mm-hmm. A few people will also know about what we call the RH blood grouping system. So, Kwame, at this point, I would like to ask a question, and for all our listeners to start sending in their messages. The question is this: Do you know your blood group? If you do, why don't you send us a message? And I like to see how people will categorize their blood group. But Kwame, let me even start with you. Do you know your blood group?
So even before we ask this question, I think one of the I actually saw a question on our Facebook page.
Right.
I don't know whether it will be something you'll touch on, but one of our friends says, I'm trying to pull it up, but he was asking about marriage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said he is A and his girlfriend is O or something of the sort, and whether they can marry.
Well, we'll come to that.
And so that's something we're going to talk about, right?
We'll talk about that as well.
Yes.
We'll talk about that. Right. So there are different blood grouping systems. So the most commonly used one is what we call the ABO blood grouping system. The ABO blood grouping system. Then finally we have what we call the RH system. Previously we would call it the resource system, but now we call it the RH system.
Okay.
But then there are other blood groups as well, blood grouping systems. We've got the Duffy, we've got Kell, we've got Lewis, we've got Lutheran. There's so many of them. But we don't talk about them in normal clinical practice or in normal conversation. So probably in the scientific community, biomedical research, that's when you'd come across some of these blood grouping systems. So by far, the commonly used blood grouping systems are the ABO blood grouping system and the RH blood grouping system, and we've merged the two.
Is it because we don't necessarily need to know the other groupings, or it's not important to us?
It is important. It's just a different chemical molecule that we identify on the red blood cell that leads us to use different systems. So there are different names you can give to it. But it's just like, your name and then your nickname. So most boys would go to secondary school, and then by the time you get out of secondary school, you have a nickname. And you can choose to continue to use the nickname, or you can drop it and go back to using your old name, and then that is fine. So even if we don't know what your blood grouping is, if we are doing the Kell system, it doesn't really affect our ability to say give blood from one person to the other.
Okay.
So we've sort of like settled on these two systems and we've merged them. So going by the ABO system, we've got blood group A, blood group B, blood group O, and blood group AB. So there are four of them, just by the ABO system. A, B, O, and then AB. When we say someone is of blood group A, what we mean to say is that if you take the red cells of this individual, On the surface of it, this individual has a unique marker which we call A, or which we represent by the letter A. We have its biochemical name. I wouldn't bore our audience with it.
No,
but
it's not
there is a
about.
marker.
Some of the pros we want to know. We the pros want to know. So don't worry.
You
It's
want the lectures, when you come for the lectures, though, you and I will discuss it when we are off air.
Okay.
But there is a unique marker on the surface of the red cell, which we would represent with the letter A. Kwame, the important point is that if you have this A unique marker on your red cell, then in the fluid part of the blood, you tend to have antibodies that are of a different molecule that will attack not your A cells, but will attack any other cell that doesn't look like the A. And the only other cell is called the B. So in the blood of this A person, he has a unique molecule on the red cell surface, which is A, and then in the fluid part of his blood, he's got an antibody we call B. When we go to blood group B, then on the surface of the red cells, they have a unique marker we call B, or we represent with the letter B. Then in their fluid part of the blood, they have antibodies, soldiers, whom we call A. So these soldiers are going to attack anything they deem to be foreign. And foreign...
Hello, Doc, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, Doc. Looks like your line just tripped. Hello, Doc. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Right. So on this surface where you have the B marker in their blood, then they've got the antibody with a label A, and it will attack any substance that doesn't have the B marker on it. So blood group B means that when we take your red blood cells, we've got the B marker on it. Blood group A means that you have the A marker on your red cells.
Okay.
Blood group O means you do not have an A marker, you do not have a B marker.
Okay.
I hope that is clear.
Yes.
So O, you can look at O as zero, if you like. You can look at O as zero. So A means no A marker, no B marker.
Okay.
And then sometimes some individuals will have the A marker and then they would have the B marker as well. And then they would form the AB.
Okay.
Right. So the ABO blood classification system gives you blood group A, blood group B, blood group O, and then blood group AB. Then there is the RH system, which also uses a different set of markers. And it is either you are positive, you have the marker, or you don't have the marker on your red cell.
Okay.
So if you have the marker, then we say you are RH positive. And if you don't have the marker, then we say you are RH negative. And we have merged these two systems, the ABO system and then the RH system. So if you ever hear anybody say, I am blood group A positive, what they're saying is that using the ABO system, I am blood group A. I am of type A. And using the RH system, I am positive. I have that RH marker. I am positive.
Okay.
So A positive. So under A, you would have two types of blood group A positive and ARH negative, A negative for short. Same for B positive and B negative. Same for O positive and O negative. And then same for the AB positive and AB negative.
Okay. So before you continue, so when they say that you can't give the blood of a, let's stay on the
Right,
AB grouping. You can't
right.
give the blood or a blood group A to a person who's blood group B. When
Hmm.
they say that, are they trying to say the antigens are going to fight against each other?
Right, Kwame, you're partly right, but it is not the antigen, it is the recognition system, and the recognition system is the antibodies. So this is what happens. If I am the recipient and I'm of blood group B, it means my red blood cells have a unique marker called the B marker,
Okay.
all right? And in my fluid part or the liquid part of my blood, I have soldiers who are prepared to attack any red blood cell introduced into my body that has a marker on its surface that is not B.
Mm.
So if you give me A blood, it means you put inside of me red cells with a marker A on its surface. It is an intruder. It is foreign to my body. So my antibodies would duly recognize this and promptly attack those red cells that have been transfused and destroy all of them. And this is what we will call a transfusion, an adverse transfusion reaction.
Okay.
So the same happens if the recipient is A and then you transfuse blood of the B type. It is your antibodies, the recipient has antibody soldiers in the fluid part of their blood that will attack any red cell that has a different marker than the marker on its own cells. So if we take blood group O, for example, then the O doesn't have an A marker, neither does it have a B marker. So if I give you an O blood, if you are, say, blood group B, well, there will be nothing to attack or destroy, right?
Right.
If I give you an A recipient, blood group O, there will be nothing to destroy because the O type doesn't have any unique identifier. It doesn't have an A or it doesn't have a B, so there will be nothing to destroy. And that is why generally we would say the O's with regard to the ABO system can't give blood to anybody at all.
Okay. Let me activate the phone lines. I'm sure people have questions about this, but I've got one more question. Before that, you can call 0302 216 541 if you have any question regarding blood for the doctor. But I know that blood is, should I say, genetically passed on from your parents, right?
Absolutely.
So
It is genetic.
it's genetic.
Yes,
So
you get
could
it from your mother and your father.
you could have
Biological.
a mother who's a dad who's B. What I is it possible that you'd be O, or you necessarily take one of the groups of your parents, and
Right.
what
So,
causes the changes and the permutations?
okay. All right. So, Kwame, we will not be able to go into all of those details because that is will fall under the realms of remit of paternity testing,
Okay.
and sometimes it can be tricky. But the short answer to that question is that if your mother is A and your father is B, it is possible you could be O.
Okay.
Yes, it needs further explanation. And if you go and see your personal physician or a hematologist, it can be able to explain that to you. There is something we call the dominant and then the recessive genes. So if somebody has is blood group A, what we're saying is that they can be AO or they can be AA.
Okay.
All right, blood group B, they can be BO, but B is dominant over the O, or they can be BB. So
Okay.
if you have the AO and then your mom is also BO, then the permutation and combination you can end up with an O. So it is possible. Unfortunately, sometimes when these interpretations are not done well, then we would think that, there's been some the spouse, one of them, somebody went to do some away match and something has happened.
Yeah.
But it is possible if you get a hematologist, for example, or a transfusion medicine specialist, they can explain these things into much greater detail.
Okay,
but
so
by far, the commonest blood group in Ghana, and the statistics from the National Blood Service of Ghana, is the blood group O positive. O positive is by far the commonest. About 48% of all donors are O positive. And then B positive, about 22%, followed by A positive, about 17%. The least common, or the rarest of all the 8 groups of blood, is the AB negative. AB negative.
Okay.
That is the rarest group.
Well, Otiwa is A negative, and she says that she wants to know why we take the Rogam injection during pregnancy.
Right. So when we talk about the resource, the RH grouping system, there's one very dangerous medical condition we call hemolytic disease of the newborn, where you miscarry or you get something we call intrauterine fetal death. The fetus dies before it is born, and it is because of this incompatibility. Typically, it happens with women who are RH negative, who achieve a pregnancy with a man who is RH positive, and therefore the fetus being carried has positive RH markers or has RH markers on their red cells. Mm-hmm. But the fetus is being carried in the mother. Mm-hmm. The mother, like Otiwa, is RH negative, meaning she doesn't have the RH marker. So when this fetus starts to grow in her with the RH positive marker from the father, then Otiwa's body would recognize that RH positive baby fetus, the red cells of the fetus, it will recognize it as foreign and attack it. She would send her immune, her antibodies. She would send them over. They will cross the placenta, go into the fetus, and totally obliterate all of the red blood cells, and the fetus dies.
Okay.
It took quite some time for us to recognize this, and in 1967, an antidote was found, and this is typically given to women in the 28th week of pregnancy, and then I think in the 34th week of pregnancy, to try and mitigate this. Okay. And that is why the preconception counseling is absolutely crucial, that if you intend to have a child, we always encourage the man and the woman to come to the hospital. Go and talk to your family physician and get your blood grouping done. The ABO system grouping will be done, and then the RH grouping will be done. Okay. If you are negative for the RH and he is positive for the RH, then we will know how to prepare you to avoid this intrauterine fetal death.
We'll have a part 2 of this conversation. There's a lot more that we need to share. One of our good friends says, Lexis, I'm a lab technician and I'm learning something new. So it's very important that we continue this conversation. Doc, thank you so much. And quickly give us your phone number so we can go for the news.
Right. I'm glad that we're able to do a part 2 next week so that we'll be able to take a lot more questions. People have questions about food and all of that. The number is 0501 477 340. 0501 477 340.
If you have further questions, you might want to speak to Dr. Osafo, the CEO of Medicas Hospital. Mamiesi is here with the latest updates in news. Mamiesi.
Management of the COVID-19 Trust Fund fear they may not be able to help much should the country's COVID cases keep rising. The Ghana Health Service says it is recording more cases, especially among the youth, and has urged everyone to strictly adhere to the safety protocols to help reduce the figures. Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of an event to commission an oxygen plant at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, board chair of the fund, Gloria Kufu, said the rise in cases is a cause for concern.
If we get a high increase of rates of infection, it will be difficult for us to manage as effectively as we were able to do last year. Because last year we were able to distribute food items to communities, to orphanages, the help age, and so on and so forth. We were able to also move a lot of material and money to the various treatment centers. We were able to help the testing centers with reagents and things like that. Now, if the same level of need, it will be difficult for us to do anything effective about it. Unless the funds come in. And
Majority MPs are backing a call by the minority for a special Auditor General's audit of allowances paid to First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo. They, however, want the audit to cover all former First Ladies, including Lordina Mahama. Deputy Minority Leader Dr. James Kluche-Avaji, at a media briefing Tuesday, called for the audit after the First Lady's office disclosed she had paid back 899,000 cedis allowances given her since 2017.
We are calling on the Auditor General to go into the accounts of the First Lady and the Second Lady, first of all, to ascertain that the money she refunded is the money she actually received. Two, also to compute the interest that money would have accrued if that money